There's so much going on. And this is the troubling thing. It's not a question of sifting out the important from the unimportant, the potentially devastating to the inconsequential. It's a question of making sure we realize that most of what's going on right now by design is important, is potentially devastating to the future of our country. And a lot, while we focus on the most obvious, the most dramatic, the most immediately consequential things, is getting lost. So today we heard that Donald has decided that he knows better than anybody else about art, which is laughable, of course, but it's also, quite frankly, grotesque. And we cannot pretend that what is going on with our museums and our institutions of culture and the arts isn't as important, indeed, is perhaps not more important than everything else. And we cannot let any of it get lost in the shuffle of the other horrors. Personally, I find the incursion into our cultural institutions by the Trump regime, the undermining of cultural expertise, the censorship, the co opting of the arts to the end of promoting an ideology that is, quite frankly, antithetical to the arts, to be among the most serious threats we're facing as a people. Everything's been tending towards this for a while. How is it happening so quickly? Well, because when we had the opportunity to do something, we did not do what needed to be done. We did not say tradition and norms aren't enough. Everything must be codified. We did not say if the courts are the only backstop, we need to reform the courts, especially the Supreme Court. None of that happened. We did not say if the arts are the pinnacle of a culture, if the arts are the most valuable resource we have, if the arts define who we are as a people, they must be protected at all costs. We did not protect them. We did not defend them appropriately. We did not support artists in the way artists so desperately need to be defended. The right has been planning everything that's going on right now for at least a decade, if not longer. It should surprise none of us that once the fascist Republican Party gained complete control of the federal government, of all three branches of the federal government and many states and local governments, that all of what has been keeping our very fragile democracy in place, our very fragile and aspirational democracy in place, would unravel at a rapid and terrifying pace. Part of what needs to be highlighted here is what an utter insult it is and assault it is upon expertise. I'm talking specifically about what the Trump regime has planned for the Smithsonian museums. They essentially want to turn them into agencies of propaganda. But museums are extraordinarily well-designed, well-thought-out places where people can go to learn, to steep themselves in other cultures, to expose themselves to different ways of looking at the world, to different perspectives. The people who plan exhibits for us, who design museums, are extraordinarily well-trained experts, especially at places like Smithsonian museums. They are at the top of their fields. They know what they're doing. They know what their mission is. The same could be said with anybody in the past running the Kennedy Center. The idea that anybody, including Donald, thinks that he, of all people, has any business going anywhere near our cultural institutions, that he, of all people, has the right to interfere in our ability to learn about ourselves and other people, is, quite frankly, grotesque to me. We need to continue to alert people to the fact of what is going on in this area. Is this just another assault on expertise? I mean, we've seen this happening in the scientific and medical communities. We've seen it happening in education. So no, this is not an isolated incident. It is part of an overarching plan. But this one, again, I think carries a unique threat to our futures as an advanced country who cares about such things. We also need to remind people that the arts are the most important mirror of and way into understanding a society, a culture. When we neglect the arts, when we fail to protect the arts and artists, we make it that much easier for the fascists to take over. So we need to fight back by making sure everybody understands what's at stake here and why it matters, because it may not be so obvious on its face why it does. And above all, we need to explain to people repeatedly why we need to protect the arts and artists at this very critical time in our history. Because remember, all of this is happening in the context of arts and artists having been massively defunded by the federal government, as everything else has been. And what is most important to remember in this moment is that fascism kills community, kills democracy, kills our sense of belonging, kills intellectual freedom, and it kills art. But here's the thing. Art kills fascism. Let's dive in. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this evening's episode of Mary Trump Live. It is wonderful to have you here. My apologies for the delay. At the beginning, we had some technical difficulties, which is to say I just got back from another trip and I'm behind with everything. So thank you for being patient. All right, let's go. A hostile takeover of Washington, D.C. was not enough for Donald. He's going after California again. So Governor Gavin Newsom was on it. He held an event in California today in order to unveil a plan to combat Donald and his egregious attempts to redistrict Texas in favor of the Republicans to help that party steal the midterms, which, of course, is the only way they can win. But because Donald is so threatened by the likes of Gavin Newsom and J.B. Pritzker, like actual men with actual backbones who actually know what they're doing, he sent ICE to the event. Let's take a look at the scene outside of Newsom's speech.
Border Patrol agents are making arrests, illegal immigrants that I don't know if they were at this press conference, if they were in the area, but this is a very, as John put it when we first saw this video, a very in-your-face way to let, Democrats know that you are going to do your job, that you're going to carry out these Trump policies. Can you just respond to this video that we're watching right now?
Yeah, every single one of our ICE and Border Patrol operations is built on information, on investigative work. It's a case and an operation that has been planned because of who they think could be in that area.
I don't really think we needed Kristi Noem's take on what was happening, or quite frankly, the propaganda being perpetuated by the host of that show, whoever she was. That was not an in-your-face, this is what happens when Democrats don't do what they're told. That was fascism. That was also, not as importantly, but it says something about where we are, that this is our leader. That was a fucking temper tantrum, quite frankly. When people don't bend the knee to Donald, he resorts to violence. He resorts to illegal, unwarranted arrests and threats. That's America under Donald. And if you think they're going to stop at immigrants or the most vulnerable members among us, especially trans people and other members of the LGBTQ plus community, Muslims, Black Americans, you would be wrong, because anybody who does not support this vile fascist regime is going to be in their sights at some point in the not too distant future. Any of us could be denied habeas corpus. Any of us could be disappeared from the streets. How do I know this? Because once the right to due process ceases to exist for one person on American soil, it ceases to exist for all of us. And that could happen simply because we continue to insist upon our right to exercise our freedom of speech, which last I checked is still in the First Amendment of the Constitution. Luckily, Newsom is a relatively sharp guy, and he sees all of this for exactly what it is, a desperate attempt at a power grab by a failing and flailing leader in Washington, D.C. Take a look what Newsom had to say about Donald during his rally.
And right outside, at this exact moment, are dozens and dozens of ICE agents. Donald Trump, you think it's coincidental? No. Donald Trump and his minions, Tom Homan, tough guy, clearly decided, coincidentally or not, that this was a location to advance ICE arrests. Indiscriminate? Perhaps. We'll find out later. Well, I think it's pretty sick and pathetic. And it just said everything you need to know, the setting that we're under. That they chose the time, manner, and place to send their district director outside right when we're about to have this press conference. Said everything you know about Donald Trump's America. And that was top down. You know that for a fact. And they'll deny it, I'm sure. Maybe they won't deny it. Said everything you know about the authoritarian tendencies of the President of the United States. I said in a moment ago, wake up, America. Wake up. You will not have a country if he rigs this election. You will have a president who will be running for a third term. Mark my word. I wasn't exaggerating when I said that I received in the mail a Trump 2028 hat from one of his biggest supporters. These guys are not screwing around. The rules do not apply to him. The most corrupt president in history. He doesn't believe in free enterprise, crony capitalism. He is wrecking this country, wrecking the economy. He's a lawless president. Wake up, America. Wake up to what's going on.
It is really quite that simple. If the rules don't apply to Donald and the fascist Republican Party, why are we playing by rules? Think of it this way. To play by the rules of a democracy, rules that no longer exist because the other side set the rule book on fire and buried it in the molten core of the planet, we risk democracy, right? So that's the conundrum Democrats face. How do we not play by the rules of democracy when we believe in democracy? Well, here's the question they need to answer for themselves. Do you want to save democracy? Is democracy worth fighting for in ways that you've never had to imagine? I think the answer has to be yes. Otherwise, there is much a part of the problem as the Republicans who are deliberately and openly trying to steal everything we hold most dear. California is not the first hostile takeover Donald's attempting. As we know, D.C. is still under attack. He is absolutely determined to keep a grip on the District of Columbia as things are starting to escalate. Donald went a step further today, saying that D.C. officials are, quote unquote, under investigation for reasons. Take a look at what he had to say to the press today from the Oval Office.
Crime in D.C. Will the administration release its own crime statistics to counter their misinformation? And will those individuals who are intentionally misrepresenting crime data and fudging the books, like you said, be penalized for endangering the public?
They are under investigation right now. They are giving us phony crime stats, just like they gave other stats in the financial world, but they're phony crime stats. And Washington, D.C. is at its worst point, and it will soon be at its best point. You're going to have a very safe, you're going to have a crime-free city. I mean, I say that. You're going to have virtually a crime-free city. And these are strong men, but the criminals are strong men and women, but they're strong men. And these are people that don't play games. We're not playing games.
Oh, yeah, you are. Pro tip. Simplest way to make DC a crime-free city, leave. Anybody get tired of this? Phony crime stats. Hoax. Like nothing you've ever seen before. Why people continue to believe a word that comes out of this adjudicated rapist's mouth. Why anybody continues to have any faith that that person is sincere about his desire to lower crime and protect people from criminals when he has been convicted of 34 criminal felonies is beyond my comprehension. The only thing fake or phony that's happening in DC right now is the war that Donald and his fascists are waging against that city based on disinformation and propaganda. Donald is also looking to target Democratic lawmakers in DC, expanding the police presence even further. DC Metropolitan Police Department Chief Pamela Smith issued an executive order today allowing officers making traffic stops to notify federal ICE agents about undocumented immigrants they encounter. NBC Washington reports that this is a departure from the police department's previous policy. Didn't see that coming. And the executive order will now allow immigrants who have not been detained or charged with a crime to be reported to ICE for arrest and deportation. Essentially, any undocumented immigrant in DC will now be living in fear because they could be reported despite having never committed a crime. Oh, who are we kidding? The Trump regime, it is a crime to be brown. It is a crime to want to do jobs white Americans refuse to do. This has nothing to do with Donald's desire to remove violent criminals from our country. This is simply about getting rid of immigrants in the most graphic, violent, and viral way possible to instill fear in the rest of us who don't want these things to happen, who want to protect our immigrants and undocumented workers. It is, in the end, to chill our ability to exercise our right to peaceable assembly and free speech. None of this is going to end anytime soon because the Republican Party is entirely beholden to the likes of Donald. He said he plans to extend the takeover past the legally allowed 30 days, making this war between him and liberal cities basically unending. DC luckily is fighting back. Let's take a look at footage of protesters confronting federal officers yesterday.
Get off our streets! Get off our streets! Get off our streets! Get off our streets!
You're trying to arrest innocent people? What's your purpose? What's your goal? What's the motive? Why won't you show your face? Like you look yourself in the mirror and think I did a good job today?
Turn left! Turn left! Trying to get people to turn left to not go down 14th Street. There's a random search right now. They've pulled over about 6 cars. I've seen 2 people get detained, one by ICE, one by the police, taken, no rhyme or reason.
And I just want to tell people at this point that it's not been confirmed. Continue.
That is what it seems like. So we're trying to get people to turn left so that nobody drives down this street.
We need more people in the streets. But, early days, resistance is more important than ever. Obviously, we need more of it. We need more people engaged in resistance. As you heard, they're setting up checkpoints. I'm sure there's a lot of racial profiling going on, but here's a tip. If you get stopped at a checkpoint and you are not a member of a vulnerable population, if, for example, you're a white man, refuse to show them your ID. They have no right to ask you for it. So do not give it to them. That is a form of resistance. And if people keep doing that, maybe a message will be sent. Donald, of course, has many enemies, most of them of his own making. He's going after not just blue cities with diverse populations. He's continuing to go after his his perceived political enemies. We know that this DC takeover is meant in part to distract from all of Donald's other self-inflicted problems, like his horrific tariffs, his destruction of the American economy, and his potential implication in Jeffrey Epstein's files. So he's attacking anybody he can find. The latest victim is of Donald's attempt at a distraction is, and I cannot believe I'm saying this because it's embarrassing. I mean, it's not just embarrassing, but it's also really, really embarrassing. He's going after Hunter Biden. Who, you might ask? Who is this person, Hunter Biden? Well, I believe he's the surviving son of the guy who was president a very long time ago. Who, by the way, was always a private citizen. He's facing the threat, that is, Hunter Biden, the threat of legal action brought by Donald and Melania. Who is Melania, you say? Who knows or really cares? After Hunter Biden went on a podcast claiming that Donald and Melania had a close relationship to Jeffrey Epstein. Oh, it's all coming back to me. Yes, Melania is prominently featured in many photographs with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. Now I remember who she is. Melania, through her lawyers, is now threatening to sue Biden for defamation if he doesn't take down the video and issue an apology and a retraction. As you would expect, Donald was the one telling Melania to move forward with the lawsuit. And he confirmed it today in an interview with Brian Kilmeade on Fox Radio. I'm sure it's riveting. Let's listen.
Well, I said go forward. You know, I've done pretty well on these lawsuits lately, and I said go forward with it. Jeffrey Epstein had nothing to do with Melania and introducing. But they do that to demean. They make up stories. I can tell you exactly how it was, and it was another person, actually. I did meet through another person, but it wasn't Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah, I told her, let's go ahead and do it. I'd let her use my lawyers.
Oh, how generous of him to let his spouse use his lawyers. And it's okay, though, because it's actually, he doesn't pay for any of them. His lawyers, his legal fees are paid by the people in his base he grifts. It isn't just Hunter Biden. I swear I'm feeling nostalgic that I have to be talking about Hunter Biden at the moment. At the press conference Donald held in the Oval Office, he took the chance to bash former Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper. Who? It's like he's like digging deep. James Clapper. I literally can't even picture. I mean, I know who James Clapper is, but I cannot picture him in my head. It's been that long. Here are Donald's comments about that.
Tulsi Gabbard declassified more documents last night related to the Russiagate hoax.
She's doing a great job, by the way. That was another fake story. I'm very happy with the job she's doing. That's right. They declassified some terrible documents talking about Democrats and what they did. Radical left lunatics.
What's your reaction to the latest declassification? And in your view, sir, what does real accountability look like for the players?
It's incredible what we're finding. Absolute proof of guilt. And we'll see what happens. But Clapper and Comey and that whole group of criminals, they're criminals. And they made it very tough. You know, they did the fake Russia witch hunt that lasted for 2 years. And I got totally exonerated. There was no doubt about it. They should have done it in 1 day, not 2 years. But it was a whole scheme to try and demean Trump so that I couldn't win an election. And that is a criminal group of people. They're sick people, and they're criminals, and they should be taken care of.
Oh, get my name out of your mouth. My God. Yeah, really, I'm getting really tired of this. Oh, witch hunt. Yes, going after the golden oldies to pretend that Donald has been entirely exonerated, even though, again, we know that he was convicted on 34 felony counts, and the 2 biggest cases against him never even got to trial, thanks entirely to the corrupt, illegitimate supermajority of the Supreme Court and the fact that Merrick Garland was a hack. These attacks are being backed up by current Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. She's going after Clapper with a newly released email as part of her argument that there was an attempt by the Obama administration to undermine Donald with its investigation of Russia's 2016 election interference. The Hill reports a brief email exchange released by Gabbard shows a discussion between then Director of National Intelligence James Clapper and then National Security Agency Director Mike Rogers, in which the NSA director said they needed more time to review information before a forthcoming report to Obama about Russia's hacking of the Democratic National Committee. Gabbard's take on that email, which Donald agreed with and to today in a post on his failing social media platform, is that Clapper's email suggests standards were compromised in order to release the Russia report. That is not what's happening. That is not what happened. An investigation was made into whether or not a hostile foreign power attempted to or did in fact interfere with the 2016 election to benefit one candidate over at the expense of the other candidate. That's it. Says nothing about whether or not the candidate who benefited was involved voluntarily. Says nothing about that, although we know it's true. There is no doubt that Donald willingly accepted help from Russia. One question is, why? Why was nothing ever done about it? And now the people who were in charge of those investigations into the very real interference into our 2016 election find themselves in a position to be targeted by the most corrupt administration in American history. All why? To distract from Donald's, what's the word? Monumental, mind-boggling corruption and incompetence and stupidity and cravenness and cruelty. And let's not forget the fact that he was mentioned in the Jeffrey Epstein files many, many times, according to his own FBI. So maybe, just maybe, he's also distracting from some potentially illegal, but also, and Donald, I know this is a thing that's really keeping you up at night, some potentially extraordinarily humiliating and I don't know, maybe crazy making embarrassments that you would find utterly insupportable and perhaps annihilatory. Just a thought. I forgot to breathe because it's Thursday and I thought it was Friday, and that was stressful. All right, it is time for the emotional support moment. So we need to start that off with a cleansing breath of whatever kind you prefer, but it must include inhaling and exhaling. Otherwise, it's not really breath. So here we go. Let's swim, shall we, with the leafy sea dragon. A what? A leafy sea dragon. That's a thing. They are kind of like some octopuses, masters of disguise. They have delicate leaf-like fins, and they are rare Australian fish that drift among the seaweed and blend perfectly into their underwater world. So watch this.
The leafy sea dragon is a slow-swimming fish that can only be found in the coastal waters of southern Australia, down to 82 feet deep. These curious creatures utilize their leaf-shaped appendages to help them blend with the surrounding seaweed and kelp in their environment. They will even sway back and forth like plants in the water. Camouflage is their primary defense against predators. In addition, their body is covered in hard, bony plates with spines. When threatened, a leafy sea dragon may curl up and present its spine to attacking fish. Leafy sea dragons can grow up to 14 inches long. It is thought that they can live 7 to 10 years. Since sea dragons have no teeth, they possess a tube-like snout that acts like a straw to suck in prey and swallow it whole. They must feed constantly on small organisms like plankton and shrimp. Their main threat is pollution, habitat destruction, and poaching. It is illegal to collect leafy sea dragons from the wild.
Well, up until the end there, I was really enjoying leafy sea dragons. Awesome, beautiful. Look a little bit like fancy seahorses, like a seahorse wearing a feather boa. Beautiful. Also, good reminder that the only things endangering leafy sea dragons, us. Let's do something about that, shall we? Because those are incredible. All right, let's get to your questions, comments, etc. Starting with Marguerite, new member, welcome and thank you. It is wonderful to have you here. Michael, thank you so very much. Comment, Newsom looked very presidential today. Yeah, he did. And again, Democratic governors are stepping up, and I really appreciate it. Hopefully more of them start to do the same. If Newsom wants to be the Democratic candidate for the presidency in 2028, he needs to stop his attacks on trans people, and he needs to stop platforming the likes of Charlie Kirk and Steve Bannon, because those things are utterly disqualifying. So let's hope he comes to his senses, because in other ways, he is both a good leader and a very savvy politician. So, Gavin, an apology would be appropriate and much appreciated. Midas Cheryl, thank you as always. Gifted 1 Mary Trump Media membership. Thank you so much. And there she is again. Thank you. Comment, celebrating Mary's return to her studio fee. Yes, indeed. It is so good to be back. And check this out. I'm not going anywhere for like a month. That hasn't happened since the middle of January. So, yeah, I'm very excited to be home and home for a while. Midas Cheryl, my goodness gracious, you are on a tear. Member 3 for 3 months, 3 months since paid membership to support Mary and team. We appreciate that so very much. You rock. Lizzie Beth, thank you as always. Okay. Comment, North Mexico governor sent National Guard into Española, population 10,500. She says crime. I say, what crime? I shop there. Minimal crime. Thoughts, Mary? Well, Jesus, I cannot for the life of me remember who the governor of New Mexico is. Let's see if I can bring it forward from the recesses of my brain. Well, I'm going to make an assumption until I can remember who she is. I'm going to assume she's a Republican. And if I'm wrong, I will correct that record. This is a top-down effort. This is how Republicans believe they now need to behave in order to stay on Donald's right side, So expect more red states to oh geez. All right. Well, that's depressing. I'm going to correct the record now and have to change my answer. The governor of New Mexico is Michelle Lujan or Luan. I don't know how to pronounce her name. I apologize. Grisham. I don't apologize to her because what she's doing is awful. She's a Democrat. So why is she doing this? Well, I actually had a really cool conversation on Substack Live with my friend and fellow nerd avenger, Dean Obadala, about this issue in part. And I think one of the reasons we're where we are is because for a very long time now, Democrats in the areas of immigration and law enforcement have always tried to tack to the right, which is a massive mistake. And apparently, at least some of them are continuing to do that. It's wrong. It is deeply, deeply wrong, and it is not going to end well. So, Lizzie Beth, I am sorry about that. That is awful, and I hope somebody gets your governor to stop it. Ghostly Air, thank you so much, as always. Comment, Broadway nerd rant fee. I too am a Broadway nerd. Seriously, if I had to do it all over again, and I had the actual capacities, which I don't, I would be a Broadway musical composer in the vein of Stephen Sondheim. Hi, Mary. Hello. Donald said his favorite musical is Phantom. That tracks. And chose Michael Crawford as an honoree. What? Wait, what? Sorry. I blacked out for a second. I'll be in the corner crying and manifesting a hard pass from Michael Crawford. Okay, Michael. Don't do it. I can't imagine. Okay. For those of you who don't know, Michael Crawford is I don't know how old he is now, but he became extraordinarily famous for being the Phantom in the Phantom of the Opera. That would be Andrew Lloyd Webber's very, 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 very famous and long-running musical. I don't think it's still going on, but it might be. It's been like decades now. And here's the thing, though. The first thing I ever saw Michael Crawford in, he must have been in his 20s, was the film A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum with Zero Mostel, Phil Silvers, among other amazing people like luminaries. And you know who wrote the lyrics for A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum? Aforementioned Stephen Sondheim. See? Broadway nerd. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if Michael Crawford deserves a Kennedy Center honor. I have no idea. Like, I haven't followed his career, but to give it to somebody like for one thing they did decades ago seems like a bit of a stretch and an insult. Like, if Donald wants to honor you, you've done something wrong in your life, or you've done something right, and he just happened to, make the right decision, probably for the wrong reasons, and your job is to say, absolutely not. I'm terrified to find out who their nominees are. Okay. Blonde Bombsheller, thank you so much. Gifted 5 Mary Trump membership media. No, wait, let me try that again. Gifted 5 Mary Trump media memberships. A little alliteration, never hurt. Thank you. That's awesome. Cindy, one of our super stickers. Thank you so very much for that. Much appreciated. Ellie, another super sticker. Thank you. That is most excellent of you. Ada, fantastic. Another super sticker. Thanks. Peace Geek. Cool. Thank you very, very much. Comment. I'm in New Jersey, and it's been difficult to convince people around me that this is an existential crisis and how important it is to keep New Jersey blue, governor especially. It's frustrating. It is frustrating. I got to say, I know there are a lot of people who are struggling. The economy is terrible. They're raising families. They're trying to keep food on the table. And I understand. Many people are working more than one job, or they're out of work and they're trying to get a job. Plus, of course, we have the horrible fact that so much of our media is siloed, that if people are going to the wrong sources, they're not getting the kind of information they need in order to make appropriate decisions. Plus, of course, we know that most of the federal government is now in service to Donald's project to destroy all objective information, facts, and data. So, got to give people a break, but we have to keep trying to reach them and convince them and inform them. New Jersey is a blue state. It needs to be blue through and through. So, I continue to wonder what it's going to take, but I have a terrible feeling we're going to find out. Susan, thank you so very much. Gifted 5 Mary Trump Media memberships, as always. That's fantastic. Elaine, thank you so very much. Oh, well, talk about the best reason ever. My new kitten made me late fee. Okay. I want to have a reason to pay that fee. Caught a little feral kitten in my garage and had to go purchase litter and kitten food. Well done. Well done, and congratulations to both of you. Zella, thank you so much, as always. Comment, have the National Guard arrest the criminals in the White House to make DC safer? Yeah, it's so simple. We know exactly where he is at all times. Guys, come on. Get to it. He's not fast. It's not like he can evade you. Mary, thank you as always. Yes, massaging my temples, Fee, followed by 3 cats. Yeah, no kidding. It is definitely time for a, what do they call them? Cranial massage. Or any kind of massage would be good at this point. A TMJ massage. Champagne Hand, thank you as always. Canada is in the house. Comment, worried he'll give Alaska to Putin, but then again, he also called St. Petersburg Leningrad fee. St. Petersburg hasn't been Leningrad. Wow. I don't even know. Decades. But, you know, he is trapped in the past because the president is such a horror for him. And, you know, he's in serious cognitive decline. Yeah, I'm deeply worried about this meeting with Putin, but we will certainly be talking about it tomorrow, which is when it's going to take place. I'm not sure what time though, because of the time difference. I'm not sure if it's going to be in time for the show or not, but we, trust me, are keeping our eyes on it because that could go very badly very quickly. Thank you, Kay. That's awesome. Yeah, tired of Donald's bullshit, Fee. I apologize. I said the words instead of just using the acronym because I'm so tired of it too. Karen Super Sticker, thank you very much for that. That is awesome. Sandy, question. If one of the victims tells her account with extreme details with him, he would be living. Is he dumb enough to attack a victim testifying for Congress? I'm sorry, I'm not entirely sure. I apologize. I'm not getting the subject of this. So if you can clarify in the comments, we'll try to get back to it. Sorry, Sandy. Pink Nightmare Super Sticker, thank you very, very much. Jana, thank you so very much. Can you do something to help the Mets out, please? I don't know what's going on. Not long ago, there were 1 on the list. Now they're down to 10 or 11 or something. Come on, guys. All right, comment. Happy to see you back. Thank you. Here's a fee for my poor attendance for live shows the last few weeks. My apologies. At least we're not Yankees fans. LOL. Well, exactly, because guess who's at a lower on the list than the Mets? The Yankees. Yeah, I mean, all right, I'm from Queens. I can say this. I dislike the Yankees so much that my second favorite team in baseball is the Boston Red Sox. So there. Go Mets. Like, let's fucking go Mets. Seriously. Get your acts together. We know you can do it. You were doing it. Do it again. Zoe, thank you so much. Comment, not a fee, but just to thank you for all you do for us all. Well, that's very kind of you, and I appreciate it. And quite frankly, we love doing this with and for you guys. Faith, Super Sticker, thank you. That's fantastic. Fran, another Super Sticker. Wonderful. Thank you. We have a superfluity of Super Stickers. Thank you, Tia Mia. That's great. Regina, thank you so very much. That is a cat distribution system fee. I want one of those. I also want the Mary Trump Media travel kitten, but I'm afraid that's going to have to wait until next kitten season for reasons, but we will get there. And finally, Susan, wow, Super Sticker. Susan, thank you. That is fantastic and very generous of you, and we truly appreciate it. As we appreciate everybody who's watching on YouTube, who's streaming on Twitter and on our Substack, Good in Us, everybody listening to the podcast, to all of those who have become members, who have gifted memberships, our Super Stickers, those giving donations. You guys keep this show afloat, and we appreciate the support. We also would love it if you're not already, if you became a subscriber to the channel. It doesn't cost anything. We are really, really trying to get to 500,000 subscribers. We are kind of stuck at the moment at 454,000. That happens sometimes. First of all, I've been away, so we haven't been posting as much as usual. And sometimes, you know, the Twitter algorithm, not Twitter, sorry, the YouTube algorithm gets a little glitchy when it comes to let's call them left-leaning channels. I think that's one way of putting it. So if you haven't subscribed, please do. Also, we produce videos every single day in addition to the lives. So check them out because we think they'll be of interest to you. And it's another really easy way to support the channel. If you watch those videos, like them, share them, comment on them, it really helps us tremendously. Because the more we grow, the more reach we have, the more we can help people understand what's going on and connect dots and explain the overarching themes and all sorts of other stuff. Plus, as I've mentioned and will continue to mention, we have a lot of amazing new things planned for Mary Trump Media. And we want you all to be part of that. So check out our other videos. Thank you to our amazing moderators. Also, I owe everybody who's in the Bad Book Club an apology. It has been a crazy couple of weeks, but we are scheduled for this coming Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern, right before Ask Mary Anything Within Reason, for our next edition of the Bad Book Club, in which we will be discussing Toni Morrison's phenomenal first novel, unbelievably enough, The Bluest Eye, which we're going to be talking about why it's been banned, why it shouldn't be banned, what it's about. It is, well, Toni Morrison is Toni Morrison. I think, don't really need to say much more than that. She's just one of the greatest American writers who ever lived. Certainly top 3. Okay, what else? My team, my extraordinary, wonderful, phenomenal team. They continue to do amazing work every day. And I tell you, they're getting better. And everything that's going right with this channel is down to them. So give them some love, please, because they deserve it. So thanks, guys. As always, it is Thursday. I checked. It has been verified. We will be back tomorrow night for Mary Trump Live, because remember, that's every Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern. I will be here. I am not going until the end of September. It's like the most exciting thing ever. In Mary Trump Media Studios, also known as my other room. I really like it in here, and it's very good to be home for more than 5 minutes. So I'll see you tomorrow. Don't forget, we've got videos dropping every day. We've got Trump Trolls Trump dropping on Saturday, and all sorts of new things on their way. So I will see you tomorrow. In the meantime, everybody, please stay safe and be kind. Bye.